Previously on the Beam Chronicles.
But I'd suggest you take that time to develop one doozy of a contingency plan. You're gonna need it to get out of this.
You think you could store my brain for me? There's this guy, Leon Nash. He's this old family friend of Howie's. Howie needed to put my brain somewhere close to me, so he gave it to Nash, and after we got chummy, Nash gave it to me.
Nasty Cat hated everything. I'm pretty sure she even hated Maria.
I'm a patsy. I'm a victim. You don't know the whole story, all right?
In 2 years, it all ends. That's cryptic.
To you, perhaps, but I know to what it is referring specifically.
That Prophit pays the piper. It's important to you, right?
Yes, it really is.
And it's important to me.
Me too. It's decided, but we're getting him.
We got a second shot at this thing, and I damn well am not settling for less than perfect on all sides. Let's get him.
Kicking his ass would at least distract me from talking to Maria for just a little bit longer.
These are the Beam Chronicles, with your host, MJ Dooney. Book 3, Cataclysm. Chapter 6, Jaxon Teaque.
We made quick work securing the safest possible setting once we grouped into the Oval Office. Charlie briskly flurried the 3 Secret Servicemen waiting to the left of the door, while Sidney grabbed the 2 of them to the right, crashed their heads into each other, then took a harmless bullet in the chest from the third before knocking him out with a punch to the jaw, probably without using any enhanced musculature. Meanwhile, I focused my attention on the president, staring out the window with his right arm folded behind his back, in the other hand, a glass of bourbon, which shattered against the carpet as I thrust him into the air, sprawling out his limbs, keeping him rigidly suspended and turning him slowly to face us. Through gritted teeth and blatant discomfort, he spoke.
Is this strictly necessary?
I ignored him, glanced over to Charlie first. Sixing on? Everything working?
Yep. All feels right to me.
I turned my head. Sid, how's the nitrogen?
Plentiful. It seems you were correct, Jaxon. He is truly powerless.
Damn, Howie. I told you to come up with a contingency plan. I was so excited to see it, but this, I mean, are we missing something? Did you just add a few extra guards and that's it?
You are neglecting to realize a very important element of this balancing act.
It was so obviously strenuous for him to speak through my clenching of his jaw. I knew the proper nerves to pinch in order to keep him from talking at all, but this was more fun.
The one thing I have in my possession that ensures you won't lay a finger on me.
What's that?
Charlie's brain.
She and I exchanged a perplexed look, and I let Howie down from my hold. Why bother keeping him up there if he had nothing? He was openly lying, and I knew it because not 30 seconds ago I was looking right at her brain. Yet he seemed so confident that he was still in control. How many times had he faked total dominance over us when his true power was paper thin?
You're joking, right?
Not at all, Charlie.
He smirked, straightening the collar of his jacket as he dusted himself off on the floor.
I have hidden your brain where you will never find it, and should anything bad happen to me the instant I am hurt or killed,
We have it, you dingus.
It was a look of such baffled, terrified horror. It seems completely out of place on his normally self-assured face.
You have your brain.
Yup.
Impossible.
We put it back in the oubliette like 20 minutes ago, right, guys?
Sid and I nodded in confirmation as Howie's eyes darted around the room, his brow furrowed. He looked like a kid at an amusement park who lost his parents, or a guy whose card castle that he'd spent days working on just got destroyed.
How did you find it?
Nash gave it to me.
I'm sorry, Nash?
Yeah, Leon Nash, the guy who brought me food. He lived next door, old family friend of yours.
He exhaled once, audibly and forcefully, with such crestfallen, hopeless despair, like in that moment he discovered his last chance, the ace in the hole he could cling to like a wild animal trying not to drown. His only friend was an illusion all along.
You mean Lee?
Sure, Lee. I call him Nash, but...
He gave you your brain back.
Yeah. He said he was an old man, sick of hiding from you, and he would accept whatever punishment you dished out. What's the matter with you, Prophet? I thought you knew everything.
He spoke somberly, giving the eulogy to his own prodigious reign.
It seems you may add the advantage of my omniscience and my last remaining friend to the list of things I've recently lost, though I suppose the upside of this is I don't have much left to lose.
Do not be absurd, Prophet. You have so much left to lose.
Wait, hold on a second.
Charlie lifted her hand to silence him and stepped toward Howie, still soulless and lost in his vacant, distant gaze.
First of all, Sid, nice banter.
Well, thank you, my dear.
Second, I just realized that if this whole freedom deal is legit, we don't have to accept your cryptic bullshit anymore. We can just ask you and you have to tell us, or Jaxon will rip off your scrotum, right?
I wonder if I have the telekinetic precision to take just his scrotum.
You said you lost your omniscience. Does that mean—
The forecasts have stopped.
He put it so bluntly, none of us had a chance to absorb the blow before he kept explaining.
I don't know why or how, because I don't know why or how they started, but they don't come anymore. And not for a while. I haven't foreseen anything since well before the election. The bulk of the process, the impeachment, and all of that. It was done utterly blind to the future, plotting my way through it as a regular person would. And at the time I thought very little of it when I don't need to know what's coming next. When my free will guides me in the direction I'm supposed to go, I don't forecast anything. Or, granted, I suppose I didn't forecast anything. Past tense is much more appropriate when referring to my former anomalistic capacities. In any case, yes, I'm rather certain I've lost the sight. I've tried all my old tricks to motivate a forecast, with no results. Maybe fate found a new conduit, maybe I just used up all of my precognition juice, but it's been nearly 3 months since I last forecasted anything, and that gap is substantially longer than any previous drought.
in 2 years it all ends?
Charlie seemed to be quoting something I didn't know, but Prophet understood. His laugh was devoid of joy.
Quite right.
He told me that 2 years and 3 months ago.
Charlie explained to Sydney and I.
The day he instructed me to fake my death, it was a forecast. In 2 years, it all ends.
I guess I didn't completely understand the intention of it after all.
Destiny was giving you her 2 years' notice.
And I thought she was congratulating me on my proximity to the finish.
He briefly glanced down at his shoes, and I noticed the beads of sweat visibly dripping off his nose and chin, a few strands of hair falling out of line across his brow. The look could be described as completely disheveled by Howard Prophit standards. He attempted to smirk, but it looked more like a cringe.
You'd probably be surprised how frequently I got myself into this sort of situation when I first got my powers. While I was getting accustomed to interpreting forecasts, I've had a good run, though, staying on the ground, so to speak. I suppose it's safe to say that streak is ended, right?
There's a lot more than that that's gonna end today.
He shook his head, somber, depressed, but perfectly calm.
You can't kill me.
Yeah?
She mocked him, then whipped out Guillermo, began spinning him on her index finger.
Let's find out.
If you do, you'll never rest easy again.
He threatened us, but from a man who had issued so many blustery, confident threats over the years, this one came out so meek, so mild, yet substantiated and decisive.
Whatever you three feel about me may be justified, but I'm still the president, and the public would not take kindly to a presidential assassination. I won this seat by free election. If you kill me, the nation will be in uproar for your heads. The military, foreign militaries, militias, police, angry mobs, even the equalizers will pursue you relentlessly for your crime. You may never stop running.
You honestly think we're afraid of guns and soldiers? I take us against the military. No offense to the military.
But it will snowball, don't you see it?
By this point, he was more like begging than threatening.
You kill a platoon of soldiers trying to get justice for the president, and 5 more will show up, then 10, then 20.
Still like our odds.
You'll be the most hated people in history. The more you kill, the less likely they'll ever relent, and you'll still be fighting, still be struggling to be free your entire lives. Besides that, one lucky shot, one strategic error, one fortunate battalion who catches the 3 of you sleeping simultaneously, and the whole thing was pointless.
Not entirely pointless, at least you're dead.
Yes,
He derided me, some of his characteristic arrogance finding its way back into his tone.
Along with hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of ignorant innocents aiming to avenge me. Meanwhile, you continue to add to your substantial kill count until the moment one of you slips up, then lose out on your happy ending anyway. But at least I got what was coming to me, right?
It was enough to keep us quiet for a moment. Prophit was a lot of nasty things, but on top of all the grime, he was the architect of our family. He knew how vital it was to us. He knew the buttons to push. He knew the goal we all had in mind. He knew that after so many years of having one thing we wanted to keep safe, after intentionally only leaving us that one most important thing to barter our loyalty against it, the goal of our perfect life was all-encompassing. Especially after 2 years living in a world where we thought we'd already missed that goal. 2 years knowing firsthand how horrible it was with two of us living and one of us dead. By this point in my life, it didn't matter if I had all the might in the world and he had none. He still had me stuck. I was a titan, he was a fruit fly, but I was still contained. Still limited by the jagged morality the three of us were forced to lacerate out of the carnage, just to keep each other afloat and sane. It was just as Charlie said, I was sick of overcoming. We weren't killing Howie. We couldn't, not today. We'd come here on Sydney's request, so it was his show. As such, I turned to him for our next move.
This hypothetical scenario is most unsettling for us and convenient for you, Prophit. But it all hinges on the notion that people like you.
Of course they like me. They voted for me, didn't they?
In a facade of an election orchestrated by your own deception, correct. They were coerced into choosing you and they do not even realize it. Suppose we told them about your lies and your schemes. Suppose we made them dislike you.
Prophit's face went completely pale at the notion of being exposed, and his eyes got wider than when I'd choked him yesterday. Sydney continued.
You are a very difficult man to like once one gets to know you and all of your dirty little secrets, Howie. And your peon, Peter Cranston, has so graciously groomed Jaxon and I on the ways to win the hearts of the public, the press contacts most important to keep. It would take mere weeks to destroy your perfect aura of heroic likability. We would not dare kill you without first telling the world everything. We will tell them about the former president, how you lied and manipulated your way into that chair. We will tell them about our positions at Beam, as prisoners coerced into doing your bidding against the threat of eternal torture for ourselves and our loved ones. We will show them the failsafe.
You don't know where it is.
Then we will simply describe it to them, an infant girl tortured in a fishbowl to keep you in power. We will tell them about Clifton Hodge, how you used Rick Fisher to assassinate him and got away with it for 3 years. We will tell them it was your decision to keep Tyler Foon alive after we had successfully killed him, that it was you behind the bombing of the Detweiler Bridge, that you tried to kill Maria Caraway for refusing to murder an innocent child.
His voice broke, having found the one particular topic he still couldn't get through, and he had to stop talking in spite of his role. Charlie mercifully picked it up for him.
We'll tell them about the anomaly you busted before Tanaka. How from the very beginning the rules apparently didn't apply to you. We'll tell them how you made me pretend I was dead, turned Jaxon into a suicidal alcoholic. Also, we'd stay out of your way as you finished your ascent, but that ascent is damn well over now, Prophit. It's time for you to plummet. So fast and so hard that when you hit the ground and splatter, there's not gonna be a piece left big enough to confirm it was you that fell. Fuck! We should have thought of this sooner. This is way better than killing you. Death is too good for you. Because this way, we're taking away the only thing you care about, the only thing that's ever mattered to you, your power, your legacy. We're gonna pull back the curtain for the whole world, reduce you to rubble, put you in a pit so deep, so dark, you can't even fathom where the sun is and can't remember what it feels like or looks like.
I'll kill myself. I'll slit my wrists before I allow the three of you to expose me and ruin me while I helplessly watch myself unravel.
I had to laugh in twisted delight at the way the tables had turned so completely. Suicide, eh? That option was a luxury you never granted us, Prophit. What the hell makes you think we'd grant it to you? I learned very early into my life as an anomaly that teaking a person around, myself included, was a lot different than teaking an object. It made sense, I guess. You don't hold a baby with the same amount of caution and steadiness as you hold a rock. But things like that, using telekinesis in a delicate and gentle way, they weren't instinctual to me. It was kind of like learning how to drive. Kids know where the gas and the brake and the steering wheels are when they're 9, but that doesn't mean you put a 9-year-old in the driver's seat. The intricacies, the artistry of teaking with the appropriate touch took time and experience to develop. For example, the first time I flew, I threw up because I accelerated too quickly. I didn't shield myself from debris or wind, all kinds of stuff. Eventually, I got the hang of it, and by now I could properly distinguish between a brusque Jaxon field and a ginger one without really concentrating. When I flew Howard Prophit back to HQ so we could throw him in the dungeon, it was not ginger. I think it was the telekinetic equivalent of grabbing him by his heel and dragging him along behind me, whipping around like a windsock the entire way. And the green in his complexion testified to that analogy once we landed. Sydney and Charlie had grouped ahead and were waiting for us in the lobby when I shoved him through the front door, hands bound behind his back, in general appearance in about as much unkempt disorder as I'd ever seen it.
That was the flight, Prophet.
Charlie smirked, slapping him on the back.
Unpleasant.
That was all he could manage to groan.
I have briefed Dale on the situation, Jaxon.
Sydney explained as the three of us led our presidential prisoner toward the dungeon elevator.
He seems to have been able to overcome his blatant fear of me in order to express his excitement at the notion of Prophet being his newest tenant. As such, he is quite on board with the plan. He assured me that in Beam's history, several dungeon anomalies have attempted suicide with no success. Even considering their otherworldly abilities, Prophet's life will be secure under his watchful eye.
Sounds like Dale's just as into you getting your retribution as we are, huh, Howie?
I think you'll find the list of eager participants in this demonstration you plan to put on is rather long. I've made many enemies in a short time, and it seems damn near 0 friends.
Actually, you know what? Something's been bugging me, and now that you're our prisoner anyway, there's really no reason to keep all of your secrets.
There are reasons to keep some of them.
Why'd you even bother telling Jaxon where I was?
He scoffed at her, as if she were kicking dirt in his face by insisting on this answer.
We had a deal, Charlie. 2 years were up. Everybody thought you were dead. I promised you I'd give it all back if you made it that far. You held up your end of the bargain. I held up mine.
Right, but why bother? You had a good thing going. Jaxon was broken, Sydney was focused on Jaxon, I was buried in the forest, and you were the fucking president. It wasn't forecasted, the deal, you made it up, right?
Correct. The deal itself was my doing.
So you weren't even tied to fate. You were in complete control. Why shake it up?
He refused to look at her, opened and shut his mouth a few times like he was deliberating how much truth he could withhold. Eventually, reluctantly, he threw out his answer.
For the same reason you agreed to it all in the first place. I had no choice. I had no power. How would you have reacted if I hadn't kept my word? If Jaxon didn't find you yesterday after 2 years of hiding, what would you have done?
Killed you.
She responded simply.
Nothing else to lose, I would have killed you dead. At least I would have tried.
And, as you are now aware, you would have succeeded. I had no way to stop you, and so I bought myself one more day to scheme. A little more time to wriggle out of it.
But you didn't.
He smiled, almost fondly and reminiscently, like we were his children going off to kindergarten and not his soldiers in the process of a mutiny.
No, I didn't. I couldn't. I guess I built a team so strong in the end even I couldn't defeat them. The three of you offer a lot of factors to account for at once. It was always such an intricate balance, keeping you hopeful and placated enough that you wouldn't succumb to desperation, yet subservient and bounded enough that you wouldn't overthrow me. These last 2 years, well, I think I got too close to desperation, for all three of you, probably. And besides that, I never thought you'd get over the whole Caraway situation so quickly. I thought maybe I'd hide while you bickered.
We've had a lot of practice parsing through bickering quickly.
Charlie smiled at me. I smiled back. Truthfully, we hadn't gotten over the whole Caraway situation yet, but we would. Very soon. Once Howie was locked up, once this was done, I'd go break up with my wife. I just needed to see him in that cell, hopeless and thwarted, before I went to do it. We put him in the second cell of row 1, neighbors with Micah Single, who outwardly matched Howie's inner repugnance. Once he was absolutely there, no tricks possible, sitting impotently on a dungeon cot holding his head. The three of us lined up in front of the glass to observe together just for a minute. Hey, you know what I'm thinking about right now? The first time I died. How he held me in that room for a week while you guys all grieved me. How trapped I felt, how terrified. Hope he feels like that right now. Sydney spoke next, folding his arms.
I am thinking about the 6 months I spent in this very dungeon thanks to this man. How fitting that I am the jailer to his prisoner now.
Yeah. For me, it's either all the time I spent in bodiless limbo, brain in jar after he shut me off, or the few hours he had me paralyzed with my body all crispy and the oubliette while he fail-safed me, or the last 2 years I spent holed up in a cabin in butt-fucking Egypt because he made me tell my loved ones I was dead.
You win.
I wish I didn't.
I guess I thought seeing him in here would be this revolutionary wave of triumph, but it's really not. After all he's done to us, throwing me out a window and letting phone zap Charlie, Sydney's little sister, it's not enough, man. Even what we plan to do to him feels completely insufficient. Maybe it's because we don't have his final stat line yet.
What do you mean, brother?
I got one thing left to do before we turn the page on this. Howie's got one more shitty chore for me. He's still going to make me shatter the sweetest girl I've ever met. The thick silence was almost palpable but short-lived. Anyway, I guess I should quit stalling and do it. No point putting it off anymore, right?
Would you like for me to come with you? For emotional support on both sides.
I smiled and patted him on the shoulder. Thanks, bud, but no, I think this is the kind of thing I gotta do solo.
You sure? I mean, maybe if I showed up, she'd believe your story a little more, and the good of seeing me may counter the bad of losing you.
Yeah, but that's just it. I want her to have a chance to just be sad, you know? Or angry or confused to Maria. If she sees you, she'll forget about how much it ruins her life that you're alive because she'll be so excited that you're alive. I want to give her the opportunity to feel whatever she feels about us ending before anything else.
Sure, I get it.
Charlie said soothingly, then kissed my cheek and hugged me.
Good luck, JT. Yeah, this really sucks. I'm sorry, and I love you.
Copy that from me as well.
Sydney said, wrapping his arms around both of us. Once we pulled out of our group hug, but before Charlie grouped us back upstairs, I thought I caught the faintest glimmer of a smile on Prophit's face. Whenever a relationship ends, people typically extend more remorse to the dumped than the dumper. And it makes sense. It's a horrible feeling to be rejected. I'm not saying the conventions are wrong. Maria deserved everyone's pity 1,000 times more than I did. I just always thought the person who ended the relationship deserved some tiniest bit of credit as well, assuming he or she did it tactfully and with integrity. It requires a certain amount of bravery, not to mention self-awareness and modesty, to be able to call off a long-term relationship, to admit it's not working and you can't make it work. Hurting someone you care about, or at least cared about, for the sake of a brighter future is actually really difficult. And it'd be so easy to just call the dumper an asshole, but it's more complicated. You never know the circumstances. Maybe his soulmate was just resurrected from the grave. Maria was perfectly empathetic, the sort of person to consider all aspects of a scenario before passing final judgment. And whatever her visceral reaction to the news, I was positive we'd eventually be friends again after this. I don't know how long it would take, and I wasn't sure if I deserved that friendship, but I knew eventually it would happen. She'd see through the impact it had on her, discover my stupid bravery and self-awareness and modesty for breaking up with her over Charlie for the second time in our lives. She was strong enough to move on, I was sure. That didn't make what I had to do any easier, any less shitty for both of us, but I guess the sooner I got done bulldozing her life, the sooner she could get to fixing it. So out of mercy, it was time to stop putting it off. When I stepped in the front door, Nasty Cat brushed against my calves, mewing and purring. Purely for the extra 3 seconds of delay, I bent down to stroke her ears, and surprisingly, she lingered. Closed her eyes, stretching out her neck. Of course. You would be nice at a time like this. You must feed off of anguish and dread. Don't you, you wicked little agent of demonic malevolence? Nasty just looked at me, whipped her tail back and forth. I straightened up, stepped over her lazy ass, and glanced back at her. By the way, if I get stuck with you in the divorce, I may not bother going through with it. Even the cat knows bullshit. And stunningly delightful creature she was, Nasty responded to my false proclamation by vomiting, red and chunky, all over the hardwood. Good Lord, I hate you.
Jaxon?
Maria urgently called me from the kitchen. Hearing her voice was like getting punched in the gut, but the time had come. I closed my eyes and called back. Yeah?
Get in here quick, hurry up.
She sounded distressed, so I hustled in, but not too urgently. I assumed it was like a spider or something. Maybe a mouse. One last thing I could save her from, bolster up my rep before I blew it up. But it wasn't a mouse I found waiting for me in the kitchen, down on his knees with blood streaming out of his nose and eyes swollen shut, hands crossed behind his head, as Maria held him at gunpoint. It was a rat. And even as mangled up as he was, I recognized his face. Rick Fisher?
Wow.
Clifton Hodges' killer sneered, breaking a clot in his nose and spitting the blood that dripped into his mouth.
So you do remember my name?
I turned to her, still holding her gun firmly at his face. Maria, what the hell's going on? What's Rick Fisher doing here?
Not a clue.
She said, still glaring at him on the floor.
I found him in our kitchen and he attacked me. He was slightly overmatched, though, as you can tell by his face. I was just about to ask him the same question when I heard you come in.
I wasn't proud of the slight bit of joy I found, not having to tell her about Charlie for another several minutes, but in any case, figuring out the reason for his intrusion was a little more pressing. Well, Rick, what's going on here?
Eat me, Teaque.
Maria cocked her gun, then pointed it at him again.
Oh, I've always wanted to do that. I can't think of any other cool things I can do to generate suspense, though, buddy, so you should probably talk before I kill you.
Please. Everybody knows if you want to mess with the beam agent, just pick a Teaque and they'll go easy on you.
Well, you're the first one to break into our home.
Maria explained, shooting me a sideways smirk.
So this is kind of setting new precedents here.
Our home. Ugh. Stop salting the wound, universe. How did you get out of the dungeon, Fisher? I asked, sighing exasperatedly, but he ignored the question anyway, pressed on with his practiced manifesto.
You know, I've had a lot of time to think. Sitting down in that jail of yours, a lot of time to process old questions, clear mental hurdles, and I've done that. A lot. Figured out a ton of stuff, but there's one thing I just can't answer. One question I ask myself all the time, and no matter what I come up with, it's unsatisfactory. So maybe you can help me, huh, Teaque? You want to know what it is I ask myself every day when I'm flipping through the news channel, watching the reports on you and the memorial service for Clifton Hodge? All I could do was wonder. How the fuck did I get sandwiched between the biggest celebrities of the century and the most significant political assassination of the decade, and still nobody knows my fucking name? I killed Clifton Hodge. I was busted by Ava. Fast forward 2 years, where am I? Buried in the basement of Beam HQ, answer to a bar trivia question. Insignificant and gone.
That's what tends to happen when you mercilessly murder someone. They take you out of society and they forget about you.
Yeah, so easy to blame me because I pulled the trigger, right? I killed Hodge because Prophit told me to. And if all that don't sound familiar, it's because it's the same reason you guys kill people every single day for years, but I'm the villain, right? Because I'm stupid. Because I'm the scapegoat. I'm the scumbag who gets tossed into jail and forgotten, while you two are celebrated household names. Awesome, totally fair. Hell, I wouldn't even care if you weren't so fucking elitist about it. I wanted to join you, you know?
He scowled, and again a droplet of blood shot down his face.
I wanted to be your ally, part of your team.
This monologue would have had a much more profound effect on me in my early days at Beam. I probably would have at least pitied him. By now, I was just sick of looking at him. Do you know what the A stands for in Ava, Fisher?
Which one?
They both stand for the same thing, you moron. I snarled, Maria giggling behind me. Anomaly versus anomaly. See, the problem with you being a part of that, you never could have joined. You're not an anomaly.
I was when I had my boots.
Barely. And even with them, how would you have possibly helped Charlie and Sydney and me at all? No, see, I'll agree with part of it. You got screwed by Howard Prophit, sure, but you know what? Get in line. We all did, the whole planet. And furthermore, I'm not going to apologize to you for your own delusions about who and what you were or are, how famous you think you ought to be over me. I don't care enough to pull punches. Not anymore. The reason you feel insignificant, gone, and buried is because you are. You don't matter, and you deserve it, Fisher. You murdered an innocent man for fame and glory. How dare you come into my house expressing your feelings of entitlement to a fucking legacy?
You made me into a villain.
He scowled, shaking like a lunatic.
I wanted to be a hero. You made me into a villain.
Fine. Fisher was providing me a wonderfully cathartic place to vent my pent-up aggression, so I let him. Wait, if that's what you want to think, fine. I made you into a villain. Are you happy? That was fun, right? What now, Rick? But what do you have to say when I cavalierly bite every bullet? Because I couldn't care less about you and your stupid vendetta against me. You're nothing to me, Fisher. You're a gnat. And I'm going to swat you and flick you away as quickly and effortlessly as I did the first time. In fact, you know what? I don't even care how you got out. It'll take 20 minutes to get you back in. I don't even care why you're here because... My rant was interrupted by Nasty Cat, stumbling into the kitchen, meowing. She glanced up at me through her matted, long gray fur, and in her eyes was a tired urgency. Maybe I was giving too much credit to an animal, but still, I felt like she somehow knew it was important that I saw what happened next. Nasty Cat's legs wobbled for a second, then she collapsed onto the floor, convulsing. Her eyes rolled up into her skull, and a green foam started pouring out of her mouth. She shook, violently and frantically gargling, as pus poured out of her ears and eye sockets until finally she stopped, rigid with her limbs extended above her head. I glanced over to Maria, noting her look of horrific sadness, then Fisher, who calmly smirked at the gruesome display.
Did you just kill my cat?
Fisher, what did you do?
Yeah, I thought you didn't care.
He suddenly collapsed forward to the ground with a painful shriek. That's your sciatic nerve, I explained. I know worse ones, but I chose that one because you're a pain in my ass, so I thought I'd return the favor. And I've gotten pretty good at isolating nerves and pinching them without causing permanent damage, which you never know, right? I'm only human. I might slip up, paralyze you for life. So let's try again. What did you do?
I poisoned it.
He grumbled, writhing around on the floor and hugging his stomach.
It's a colorless, odorless, undetectable airborne toxin created by Victor Kavorsky.
How the hell did you get your hands on that?
The guy who gave it to me when he sprung me loose yesterday.
Who?
I don't know. He was really short, fat, kind of Weasley looking. Wore an American flag pin like a senator or something.
Peter. Peter let you out.
Of course he did.
Maybe this was Howie's real contingency plan, or maybe just Peter's revenge for me choking him yesterday. I'd worry about that later. Is it still in here? Are we being exposed to it right now?
No, I already used it up. Peter, or whatever, he didn't have much, only one vial, which he stole from the stockade of stuff they confiscated during the Kavorsky bust. He gave it to me and told me to punish you with it in exchange for my freedom.
So you killed my cat?
The toxin was designed for torture purposes, pumping information or whatever. Kavorsky would give it to people, then withhold the antidote till he got what he wanted. It takes 24 hours to activate. That's why I came back to watch it work. Figure it out yet? I exposed you both to it last night while you were sleeping.
Except I wasn't sleeping here last night. On cue, I spun around to see Maria drop her gun, double over, heave up the same chunky red vomit as Nasty did. The first clue she showed me when I walked in the door. Maria looked up at me, bile dripping from her chin, mouth agape and eyes wide with fear.
Oh shit.
I busted a few vertebrae in Rick's lower thoracic spine, paralyzing him from the waist down so he couldn't try to escape. He didn't even have the capacity to yelp, just crumbled to the floor. Then I scooped Maria into my arms and bolted back to HQ.
Thank you for listening to The Beam Chronicles, a fiction podcast written and produced by me, MJ Dooney. You can follow the show on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter. If you want to email me, beamchronicles@gmail.com. And if you want to help me out for free, leave me 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I'm up to 40 perfect reviews on Spotify now, so thank you. If you want to help me out for not free, like give me money, buymeacoffee.com/beamchroniv is the link. That's BEAMCHRONIV. Or just click the support the show link in the description. Again, only if you want to. I'd greatly appreciate it. Also worth mentioning, September of this year was my best month since I started making this show in terms of overall downloads. I had over 1,000 in just that month, so thank you for whatever contribution you made to that. We are chasing down 10,000 downloads for all episodes all time, currently at 9,054 as I'm recording this, so tell all of your friends, if October is as good as September was, we'll get to 10,000 before Halloween. All music and sound effects were sourced from the Epidemic Sound Library. Special thanks to Sergio Duarte for creating the cover art for the show. Thanks again for listening.